live. Okay, great. So, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back again. We are again between the lines. I'm here with, this is Michael here with Mutz and Colin. Colin, after this long hiatus, not to say that we didn't do our own. Welcome back.
Gracias, gracias.
Okay. That applause was very brief and it felt abruptly ended. Let's just go right into things.
So, this past season, East, the East, not many surprises in the East. I really didn't think Detroit had it in them to come out on top, but they did. They were pretty impressive for the whole season. I think 60 something wins. Did they get to 60?
They got to 60 wins.
Yeah, they did really good this season. I think they can build on that next season if they don't try to blow up the team or do any kind of weird stuff. The playoffs, the lights were a little bright for them, but I think they'll come back again. They'll be contenders again. I mean, going out to the Magic was a bit crazy. So, what else was a little shocking in the East?
Well, I mean,
honestly,
your team was Boston, so
yeah.
why don't you
I'm
speak on
Boston,
that?
and I'm pretty surprised how well we did without Tatum. It was very impressive to rack up more than 50 wins without our star player. I was really happy with Pritchard. I feel like he really came into his own this season. Like we saw flashes of it last season, but we needed more from him this season, and he delivered in a big way. I think our problem is at the center position. I think we're missing a big man. So I think we're fine without Tatum. With him also we're fine. But I think we're really missing a good big man. So I don't know what the logic was in trading Porzingis, but I feel like we're missing him already. He was a good pickup for us. I think that's our black spot, the center position. New York has been kind of on the edge for a while. So I kind of expected them to go far. Not this far, but the dominoes started to land in their direction. So it just everything worked out as perfect as it can be for them. They're way to the. I expected Cleveland to put up a better fight than they did. It was honestly a sad one, but yeah, New York. I expected around 2 or 3 seeds, so that was fine. I expected way more from the Heat, but then again, injuries. But still, just them being the Heat is enough for them to have expectations heaped upon them. So I expected something more from them. Magic was my sleeper for the season.
Mine too. Well, actually, especially from the playoffs. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, they were my sleeper. So I was like, okay. Once they took Detroit to 7 games, I was like, okay. No, I wasn't so far off with my prediction, but yeah, I think the team still needs a little more time, a little more growth, a little more maturity to really get it to the next level. But yeah, Magic did good. I was pretty surprised with Atlanta as well. I didn't expect much from them, but they were pretty good. They almost gave New York an upset. So I'm excited to see what they're up to next season. If they keep the same structure, because they were pretty good. Yeah, the East, I didn't. That's about it. Everybody else kind of was like trash, to be honest. There wasn't really much outside of those teams. The Bucks were a bust. Indiana was definitely a bust. I thought Charlotte might come up, but I think I'm giving them one more year. Then they need to let my boy Melo go and do it big somewhere. If they're not going to be serious about contending, then might as well let my man Melo go somewhere where he can contend, because I feel like he's a championship caliber player. If fixed into the right spot, I think he can do something.
Hold on.
Who else in the East?
If they let LaMelo go, then who is to replace him?
I don't know, but he would probably go for a premium. So they would probably get a lot of picks or one really good player and a couple of picks. So I just feel like they waste it every season. I mean, he wasn't particularly amazing this season, but I feel like I put him in the same group as Branson and Spider and all of them. Like he's a proper guard. I like his game.
Really, Bronson and
And he's a
Spider.
joy to watch. Yeah, I feel like if he had the opportunity like they do, I think he would be, because he creates his shots, then he leads the assists. When you look at Spider and Brunson, their assist numbers are super low. They're not guard assist numbers. So somebody's helping them get their shots as well. Melo has nobody doing that. I feel like if he had somebody helping him get some shots, he might be putting up their numbers. For me, I feel he's in their league. Um, it's just yet to be seen, but I feel like in the right situation, he's as good as any of them. Philly were honestly, for me, they were lucky to get anywhere. I wasn't really counting on Philly to do nothing. I mean, yes, did we lose to Philly? I think we lost Game 7 to Philly. Yes, we lost Game 7 to Philly, but I still don't rate them. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
That was they had our number. Okay, I'll give them that. Fine, but I don't rate Philly. I don't expect them to. They're never contenders in my book. They just have a way of blowing things up. I don't understand Philly, honestly. So yeah, I mean they beat us, so respect to them. But yeah, I'm not about to be like, oh, next season Philly is a team to watch. No. Embiid is playing on like half a knee, and the Edgecomb kid is good, but still needs some more time. Um, who's that? Maxi. Maxi is amazing. Paul George for me is like James Harden. On the day you need them the most, they will absolutely disappoint you, guaranteed. So I don't really care for Philly, honestly. They need to blow up the team and just the process has ended, in my opinion. Just let Embiid go and just try to get Maxi some dependable players that he can actually go to war with.
I
Um,
got some thoughts here that I need to chime in a little bit because where you made a
Carry on.
couple of good points towards the end there. Now you're starting to thing. You're coming off as
I
a
mean, I'm
hater.
a Boston fan at the end of the day, so
Yeah, but now you're
I
coming
will
off as a
never
hater.
rate Philly.
Now you're coming off as a
No, I,
pure,
I
pure
say
hater.
respect to them. Respect to them. I mean, we lost to them, so I have to respect that. But at the
Correct.
same time, I just don't. The team that they have right now, I just don't see them winning. I just don't see a winning team. I mean, they have played us enough. They have played us enough to have our number. So, I mean, it's their first time beating us in a series in I don't know how many years or whatever, but it's because we have played a lot against each other. I think they have our number at this point. So
So
it's a
now that they
toss
have
up.
your number, you want them to break up and say, start,
No, I
break up
mean,
and come start from
you're not
scratch.
always, they're not always going to get the Celtics. So if they find somebody else at the start, I feel like they're out in the first round.
I I disagree with that assessment, but I disagree with it,
Because
and
the
I'll and
next
I'll and
team
I'll
they
break it
played,
down based on what you said. So let me go through what you just said, so we're
Mhm.
clear and that I understand you. Embiid is old; he's playing on one knee. Maxey is a hardened type player who will
No,
play
no, no,
really
not
well during.
Maxi. Paul George. Paul George is a Harden
Oh,
type player.
okay, sorry, I heard Maxey. I was gonna scream your head off real quick.
No,
Okay,
no, I
so
was like,
Paul
let's
George
build
is
around Maxi.
okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Okay. Um, Paul George is a hardened type player. I
Yep.
I sort of agree, but I think he's better than Harden, even when Harden was at his prime and blowing up spots in Houston and wherever else he was. Like I think Paul George has been better when healthy than Harden was in playoff scenarios. He
Yeah,
got
but my
Indiana.
critique of him and Harden is at the time you need them the most, they will disappoint you. You can almost bet on it. They're
I I
good
I,
players.
I agree, but I think
That's there's no argument there.
Paul George
They're
doesn't
wonderful
disappoint nearly
players.
as hard
Paul
as
George
Harden
is
did.
one of my favorites. But come a game 7, you can count on Paul George to wet the bed every day.
I think that's part of the reason why he has not been in the last year and a half, I think, been the closer for the Philadelphia 76ers, even when healthy. They relied more on the duo of Embiid and Maxey. And I agree that now that Embiid is becoming increasingly less reliable because of injury histories, etc., especially in postseason, uh, they need to find either a better like 1-2 center at the center position, or they need to move on from him and try and find a 1B to Maxi at the center position, but they will still need at least two solid centers. Um, Andrew Drummond, I really like Andrew Drummond, but his deficiencies are glaring to me and perhaps not fixable at this stage. So they need to move on from him. As well. So I would get rid of both of those centers and try and upgrade at the center position, 1A and 1B spots. But the rest of that team, I'm perfectly happy to continue. They can find another player to stead not Paul George. Yeah, to stead Paul George basically for his minutes so that he doesn't end up fatigued and or injured late in the season. Because I think that the
You know
reason
who
why
would
he
be
falls
good
off,
in
why he
Philly?
falls off late. Let me finish. Before the reason why I think he falls off late in the season is because of fatigue and injury. But I do think he's more reliable than James Harden. So that while I see, while it's definitely there, I don't think it's because of lack of motivation and interest, which is what I see from Harden. I think it's more of he's got to the stage in the season where he's spent and he's no longer at this, I don't know what is he, 14, 15 years in the league. At this point in the time, he can't be relied on late in the season into playoffs unless they rest him throughout the season. and try and take advantage of a rested player in the playoffs. But yeah, they need a 1-2 for Paul George as well. And or they can trade him, but they would have to get value equivalent or better value. And I think that they've drafted well enough in their rookies this year. Their second year players are actually pretty good, and they can be developed in the systems that they have. Go ahead.
Yeah. On my end, Philly just needs to move on from those two guys and try to figure out a life after Embiid. Well, Paul George is relatively new. And while you're saying he is more reliable than Harden, this dude is injured all the time. Harden might not be interested or whatever, but he plays. He will give you 9 points or something. Like, he will play. Occasionally, he will give you 25 or 30.
Harden is
He
not a
plays.
9-point player. You can't have him playing for 9 points, 4 assists. The same can be said about Paul George, but Paul
Exactly
George doesn't.
where the
Paul
comp
George
comes
when he's
from.
Paul George when he suits up, he doesn't put in 9.4 assist games unless the
Oh, he
offense
has
is not
had
running through him.
several of those this
Unless the
season.
offense is not running through him. You see,
Whether
if
it is or not, whatever the case may be, the reasons might be different, but his production and Harden's production round about the same. Whatever their reasons for that production are, it's the same output you're getting from the two guys. So for me, that's where the comp is coming from. The reasons might be different. Harden might be uninterested or whatever the case may be. Paul George, for all his interest, he's just not that guy anymore. So, and he stays injured too. So it's just a whole thing. Like, between the two of them, if I'm a manager, I'm moving on from Harden, I'm moving on from Paul George, I'm moving on from Embiid. But I feel like Sixers can contend. I was about to say who would be good. Melo and Maxi, that could be a good 1-2 punch. They get the right big men around them.
no, because I think in order to bring Melo into Philly, they would need to get rid of their rookie, and he was too good this year. He was way too good
No,
this year.
I feel like Embiid and Paul George are enough to get Melo.
Yeah, but you'd need to get a large player to replace them. You see, Paul George has played power forward at times and small forward. He doesn't play a guard position. So you're getting rid of two
Yeah, I
bigger
mean,
players, and you would need to find
not not not
a
2 for
quality bid.
1.
You would need to find a
Yeah, you
quality
could
big.
get a quality big, not a superstar big, but you could get a quality big. For Melo and another quality big, you could get some. And Melo is not small either. Melo is like 6'7",
Ag-
so he's not a
Agree,
small
but he
dude
doesn't
as
play. But
well.
he doesn't play the power forward position ever. Whereas Paul George
No,
does
no,
play
he
the power forward
doesn't. But
position. You
what I
see,
mean is he's not compromising on the team's size. It,
if you're doing a straight up mellow for Paul George, he is compromising on the size.
it's 2 inches. Paul George is like 6'9", 6'10".
We're talking about player that plays the power forward position. Listen to what I'm saying. He plays
He is never
against
going
power
to play
forwards.
power forwards. I'm saying,
Paul George
if you're
plays
looking
power forwards is what I'm
overall at
saying.
a team,
So you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
look for
I
match. You have
understand
to
what
look
you
for
mean.
like. So if you're getting rid
Allow
of
me to learn.
go for it.
If you get Melo and a big, the
And a big,
overall team size is relatively the same.
but it would have to
You're
be a
not
quality
losing
big.
much on size. Hmm?
It'd have to be a quality big.
Yeah, it would have to be
You
quality, and I'm sure
yeah.
you could get quality still. For those two players, you could get a quality big, not a superstar big, but a quality big, and you have a superstar in Melo. And then you have Melo Maxi and a quality big. I think that is a better setup than what they have right now. It's a
I
bunch of they're good but undependable guys.
I think I agree. I agree. If you get Melo, Maxi, what's this rookie's name again?
Edgecombe,
Edgecombe.
VJ
VJ
Edgecombe,
Edgecombe.
right? Yeah. If you continue to keep the three of those guys, and you have two, I don't want to say serviceable because you need better than serviceable at the big position, especially now that the league is going to start changing around the 7'4" people. And
I mean,
you've seen
if
it
you
in the
get
previous series now that you need to have at least two 7-footers or at least two players that play a 7-foot type game that are
if you get a
agile and
guy like Vucevic quality, I think that's enough.
Vucevic's 3 years ago quality. I do
I
not
think
see.
even now he's just not in the right situation. But in Chicago he was killing last season.
I didn't see Chicago
So I
games
think he
last
still
season, but
has the quality. Boston
I
just
agree he was a
didn't
good
play
player.
him.
I haven't seen anything of him recently to
Yeah, Boston just
continue to give him that
misused him.
credit. Yeah,
Yeah, Boston picked him up and just didn't use him at all. So I don't
which
know what the plan was there.
so we've watched an entertaining East and West Conference Finals. Things went more or less how we said they would go, with a little bit of a shocker from the New York Cleveland matchup, because I don't think anybody had a sweep in their heads for that matchup. Though it quickly became clear after the second game, I think, from my perspective in any case, that Cleveland really wasn't trying to prepare and go after New York. So, and as I said before, when we did our last little session, Harden did it Harden. He was never going to be there. And for me, it felt like Mitchell Robinson, not Mitchell Robinson, was injured. And he played the last couple of games hampered, even if he didn't try to admit and acknowledge it. There was a moment, I think, at the end of game 2 or something, where he looked like he pulled a groin or a hamstring or something, and he didn't look the same throughout the rest of the series. What are your thoughts?
I also did not expect Cleveland to get swept. I thought between Spider and Jarrett Allen and the squad that they have, that it was enough to at least get them past New York, or make it at least 6-7 games or something. But Harden will do what he does, so no big surprises there. I was just more surprised about the other guys on the team. I just don't know where the spirit died at, because each game, save for the last one, the game 4, each game they looked like they were going to try and contend, and then somewhere in the game it would just be like, okay, we give up. At least that's the vibe I picked up on while watching the games. It's like they start out like this is about to be a game, and then third quarter, towards the end of the third quarter, they just kind of switch off. I don't know if it's because they were tired or whatever the case may be, but yeah, it was a shocker from Cleveland from my side.
Yeah, so like actually, man, coming right off of what you said, Colin, actually for me it wasn't a surprise because I had watched James Harden with the Clippers last season and I saw kind of like the same thing. Um, some games in the Toronto series, but then also when it came to New York. And then, combine that with also how the Cavs played last year, I felt like besides Donovan Mitchell, especially probably Jarrett Allen, Mobley as well, they kind of switched off. And for me, it was kind of confusing because, like, from the way I would see it, it was like, okay, we made, the playoffs. And then now we're on vacation. That's what I saw from like, especially like the Clippers and Harden last season, but then also some players, some key players besides Mitchell from the Cavs. Now coming to the New York series, okay, so with the Cavs, I felt like, they mm, it felt like it was more of a matchup situation where like New York was already coming off hot, number one. Number two is that I think that like with having Robinson at the centerpiece, and then having no guards being able to take care of, especially Bronson. I felt that it was just the matchup wasn't right. The energy wasn't right. So I wasn't actually surprised that they got swept. Perhaps maybe I thought they could get a game in or two, but then also I got to give credit to New York. Like I wasn't expecting this at all, especially considering how their season went. They're on fire completely. Look well rested. They're in sync. A little bit new strategy with Mike Brown. So yeah, super impressed and not that surprised at all.
I'm happy you brought up that the new strategy, etc. I think Cat really benefits from the playmaking role, and I hope they carry that forward because I think he's always going to get his points and rebounds, but having like 7 to 11 assists tonight does that team wonders from a big man position because it gives another edge, another area of concern for opposing teams how to defend it because now you have to look out for who's he making better rather than just looking, is he going to be the man tonight or not?
Yeah, I think also the supporting cast. I think this season is more about the supporting cast. The 2 seasons ago, it was all about who's healthy and who's not. It still is, but I think this season is really about the supporting. We know what the stars are going to give you. It's now about the other players. Are they going to deliver? And New York is delivering heavy with the supporting cast. You have Josh Hart, you have Alvarado, all these guys that are playing out of their minds. And I feel like that's a key factor in getting to where you need to get to. Even if you look at the Spurs, well, not to switch us to them, but it's all the teams that have made it a little farther or to the main dance. The supporting cast has played a big role. You have rookies and all kind of bench players putting in solid shifts to get the team over the hump. So I feel like New York's support cast was also pretty amazing.
Man, absolutely 100% agree with that. And it's so brilliant how you mentioned that. And if you think about it too, last season, especially with the playoffs, we did talk a lot about injuries. And this season, perhaps not so much, but I agree, and that we can move on to the Spurs as well. But the supporting cast, that's where it's at this playoffs.
It definitely feels that way, especially with the finals. Sporting cast has stepped up huge. I think it skewed a little bit in Spurs' favor over the last round in terms of how big of a role the Sporting cast played. But without a doubt, I think now that we're at the big dance, players like Alvarado, who I didn't see so much impact in the previous round with Cleveland, will have huge impacts in this round, bringing the defense to against Vasil, against Champagne, Harper, etc., who are, even though they're bigger guards, uh, they their turnover rate, etc., means that they're liable to be. I think they're going to be found out in terms of how good their ball handling is, basically. And I think New York Knicks have the the strength at the defensive guard position, let's say, that it's going to cause them real problems, especially if De'Aaron Fox is not playing his A game. And I'm concerned going into this round about just how injured, just how ready and rested he's going to be. Because certainly he can't have games where he comes out and does less than 12 points. I think, as I said for the final game, uh, in our brief conversation, was I think De'Aaron Fox needs to average 12 and above in every game they play for the Spurs to be successful, and he needs to contribute 8+ assists as well, or the combination of points thereof of made points as a result of his play needs to be in that area. So the contribution of Fox needs to be in the 22 to 28 or 32 off the points and assists combined for De'Aaron Fox going forward, and his ball handling has to be stellar. He needs to have better than a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio in the series, because I'm very concerned about the ball handling of Vasil, Harper, and this other guy,
Castle.
Castle. Yeah, their ball handling needs a lot of work, and I don't think with the short turnaround that they have, that they will have had enough time to really put it in to get that resolved. So I think that's going to play a key factor.
My take is not completely opposite, but it's slightly different because they have gotten to the big dance with this ball handling. So, and with De'Aaron Fox missing a couple of games here and there. So I think for me, that's not there. I mean, this one is as probably as evenly matched as you could get to. But before we get to the finals, I guess, what do you guys feel about the finals, Western Conference? Unless you spoke about them already.
Moots, you wanna take the lead on that one?
Yeah. So like, well, the Western Conference Finals. I mean, here's the thing: is that like, I don't my oh okay. So my prediction coming in was I had the Spurs for sure. Until it was tied 3-3. Now I was concerned with, you know, the Spurs playing in OKC. And the notes that I had, especially when the game started, was that, and I saw this also in a couple of the previous games, is that they're boxing out, and maybe this is even a concern coming into the finals. But like, I really felt like they don't know how to box out really well. Consider, for instance, like Hartenstein's impact with all those offensive rebounds. And then I saw, there was one play especially where they shot the ball and Wemby was there in the key. I think he got boxed out by, what's his name? By Shea, by SJ. And then Fox was, he's another player I'm concerned with when it comes to completing the defense. And that's my whole thing with the Spurs, is because the defensive rebounding is part of the whole defensive scheme. If you cannot get the ball back, if you can't grab that defensive rebound, then the defense is not complete. And so yeah, so coming back to that play, Fox also missed getting a defensive rebound. So now you have Wemby and Fox being boxed out by SGA, and then other players get the rebound. Now they managed to fix this up a little bit, going into and I'm talking specifically about Game 7, but we could see this a little bit in the previous games. But for me, my thing is that they really need to kind of clean up the defensive rebounding. And then also my other thing was that what happened with Chet? He played 32 minutes and was 1 for 2. So there was something going on. He was kind of like the Jalen Duren, with the Pistons, in their series. But then, so yeah, those were my main things. But then also we have to ask about the OKC. Is that, were they really missing Williams, J Dub, and AJ? What's his name? AJ Mitchell. They really had to rely on SGA, which I think they did maybe an okay job with him on defense. So is that an excuse for OKC for me? And then also, but you gotta congratulate the Spurs because they did, in the end, complete what they needed to do in winning that game 7.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll take a larger overview of the whole series. Basically, I thought we both before the series started said Spurs in 6. Going in and watching it, it became a little bit more clear that this was going to be a 7-game series, and my conspiracy alarms went off after game. I want to say game 4. Yeah, after game 4, my alarm bells started to go off, and I was clearly thinking to myself, "Oh, this is going 7, and they want." And I at that point, I think I started to question whether or not the Spurs would pull through. But after game 6, I then said to myself, "Well, there's no way now that they don't." And Woodson and I had a conversation uh, that Saturday before the game started and everything. And I told him there are a number of statistics there that go to show that the trend currently is actually that the home team in Game 7 is not in it's not in Oklahoma City's Thunder's favor. Uh, and that combined with the injuries and everything else makes me very certain of the fact that it will be the Spurs and the NBA working their magic to ensure that the finals, when it comes around, will be a competitive series, uh, and all that. I didn't expect Game 7 to go the way it went. I'm glad you brought up the whole Chet Holmgren no show, uh, because that was the highlight of the nonsense that fed into my conspiracy theories as well. But I didn't expect it to be like such a team effort no show. Uh, I thought SGA did everything in his power to keep the team in it, but it was clear that the others didn't come to play that game, while the others for the Spurs were there in full force and wanting to take the soul out of the building, basically. So that was my Game 7 sort of take. Uh, the rest of the games, I was curious a little bit about the strategy being employed by OKC uh, a lot of the time because first off, why is Caruso gardening Wemby? How is that working as well as and efficiently? Game 1, for me, it appeared like it was working. Game 2, it appeared like it was working, and then they switched it up in Game 3, and I was like, okay, so now they understand that it doesn't look good to have a small guy guarding a 7'4" guy, and so they changed it up. They made the difference. They said Hartenstein can go play as hard and as rough with Wemby as he wants, and they will leave the fouls. They'll deal with the fouls another way. I didn't expect some of the refereeing to take the to not recognize some of the fouling that was going on. But I'm happy to see that Wemby kept his composure throughout, and even that game that he scored 15 points, I thought that that was more due to fatigue than his not having the will to be out there trying to play. So that was my little take on things. How about you, Colin?
Um, so me, I'm one of the people who hate Oklahoma City's brand of basketball. I absolutely hate everything about Shea's game. Like, it's absolutely garbage. I hate the way he plays. I love the way he used to play in the Clippers. I don't know when he became this guy that is to I mean, he's the MVP, so I guess something is working, but not my kind of basketball. So I did not want to sit through another OKC final for sure. So I'm glad it turned out the way it did. And I think in the end, that one just came down to who wanted it more. And the Spurs just wanted it more. Wemby wanted this one more than I think any other player. And that's why I say the finals is about as good a matchup as you can get, because the New York guys, they want it as well. So they really, really want it. So I'm happy that's the final we got. But as far as the series for the finals, I'm surprised it went to 7. I honestly thought the Spurs would take them in 5 or 6. But again, the refs, I don't know what magic the OKC guys do with the refs, because there's so many blatant calls that get missed, and it's ridiculous. I do not like their basketball. I do not like their strategy. I don't like anything about them. So I'm glad it panned out that way. No super deep dive. I mean, I can say the Spurs need to rely a little less on Wemby defensively. It should be more of a collective effort in the defense. I feel like they just rest on the fact that, yeah, Wemby's back there. He'll handle it. And yes, he's the defensive player of the year, but he's not Superman or whatever. Like, he can't guard every and block every shot and everything. So I feel like if they lock in a bit more defensively, this series would not have even reached 7 games. But maybe I'm a hater or whatever it is, but I do not like OKC basketball one bit.
So
That could be.
go ahead, Moots.
No, no, you go.
So I'll push back a little bit about their brand of basketball because I think it's excellent. It's team basketball at its finest, and it's a team that cares about the defensive side of the ball. And they all play with effort and energy, and that's sort of one of the things I appreciate because it takes me back to late '90s, early aughts basketball where both sides of the ball mattered, and I think that that's something that's drastically missing from today's game. Now, the part I agree with you fully is SGA's play and the way he foul baits and flops and whatnot in the effort to get the whistle, etc. I think that's disgusting basketball, and it should not be endorsed. It should not be celebrated in any way, shape, or form. However, that's not to say that I don't think that he is not a good basketball player. And I think that if he kept it just to his skill and proper play without foul baiting, etc., you look at his style of play a little bit differently. I think he's perhaps a brilliant um, offensive player. However, I think he has taken Harden's version of foul baiting and he's put it into a masterclass position. And this is one of the things that we need to start taking a look at, truly enforcing the rules that exist as it pertains to flopping and exaggerating contact. That's one of the things that disappointed me the most about this previous round is that despite the fact that every media outlet was cheering and talking about this throughout the whole playoffs, the referees clearly made no effort to change the way they were calling games. And it was given a seemingly endorsed by Adam Silver when he spoke to the media and said, "Oh, I don't see anything about it. They're trying to play the game, etc., etc." I think it's a horrible way to watch a sport that you're trying to encourage fast movement with a lot of action when every 2 seconds there's a foul being called for something that clearly wasn't a foul or clearly wasn't a foul to the level of which requires a 5-minute pause in action to go debate about it. And at the same time then allowing the foul on Caruso to to go off as a common foul when it clearly deserved an upgrade in Game 7. That pissed me off to no end because you got a man ripped out of the sky. Granted, he did go make an attempt on the ball with his right arm, but his left arm clearly grabbed him around his waist while he's up in the air and brought him to the ground. That was a flagrant one, and in no uncertain terms. And if you've played the game of basketball and if you followed NBA basketball, especially the way the rules have changed in recent years, that was an upgradable call.
I remember that.
Another ref might have even ejected him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
in a
mean,
non-playoff scenario, I think he might have been ejected as well. I agree. It was a dangerous play, and the fact that they reviewed it and still came back and said, "Oh, common foul," annoyed the life out of me. I said there were a couple of questionable calls in that game, and that was definitely one of them. The other one was the guy stepping out of bounds and it not being called. That was another one.
yeah, because and then coming back to that play, I remember that because like when I was seeing even the replay, I thought, oh, okay, there's definitely so for the flagrant, there's there's a follow through, no wind up, impact, and follow through. I felt he had at least had follow through. So I agree. I think that should have been a flagrant one. But it's interesting. I agree with a couple of points that you guys mentioned about OKC. Now, yes, I'm not the biggest fan of OKC. Um, there's something that, well, we'll get into that perhaps at another point. One of the thing is that some of the games that I saw during the season, there is not even hard fouls, but I say um dangerous fouls or dangerous plays that they made. Like take say for example, with Dort, and then there was Williams, particularly against the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. But there were also like one or two other games where I saw that, and it just put like a little bit sour taste in my mouth. And so yeah, I'm siding more with Colin in this one. I see your point, Michael, with about how they kind of play like a 90s style of basketball. However, when it comes to SJ and the foul baiting and everything, for me, it's kind of like, okay, yes, he is getting those calls and he is foul baiting. However, from my point of view, and from even sometimes the way I played, or seeing other players play, I thought that was fair game. If you can manipulate, if you know how the refs are calling the game and you can manipulate that for you to get free throws, I'm all for that. Now the thing is, where it can be changed or regulated, it's on the referees. The referees should make those, or don't make those calls, rather. Same thing with the flopping and everything. It's on the referees to not call those plays, because if you're gonna flop and foul bait and the referee doesn't call it, number one, you and the way they're falling on the ground and everything, they're now a liability on defense. And then when it comes, and that kind of goes in the same way with the flopping. Um, so I just wanted to get kind of know, like, because we did talk about this, Michael, like, yeah, at that Champions League game, and we talked about the officiating, and you said, I think you mentioned that like you had something to say about that, but then also coming now into the finals, how do you think the officiating will go? Or yeah, I don't know, maybe that's something we can quickly talk about.
Well, I'm hoping it gets officiated a little bit better. I think that games 1 and 7 were officiated fairly well. I didn't think, outside of the 2 or 3 instances in Game 7, I still thought that Game 7 was really well officiated. Games 1 and 7 were quite well officiated. I didn't think there was any reason to think. There were a couple of games in the middle of the series that bothered me. Clearly, there were a lot of calls that I said, or a lot of decisions that I thought didn't make a lot of sense, both either to call fouls, call goaltending, uh, call uh, call and or not call certain plays that were very questionable. And I agree with both of you in the sense. Let me just step back slightly and revisit quickly what you said about SGA's style of play. I agree. The players are there to take advantage of whatever little loopholes the referees give them, etc., etc. But the point is that this stuff was put on the books to do away with it, to do away with the flopping, and so it is the responsibility of referees to make sure that the rules are adhered to and 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 charged appropriately, so that we don't have to do with the pause in games, etc., etc. James Harden's little traveling stunt that has now changed the way we treat traveling, etc. His little um, running through to the rim with both hands outreached so that people slap him across the arms, etc. All of these little rules and changes that we keep changing the way we play the game doesn't make it a good style or a very watchable style of play. And I think, as Colin said, the way that SGA is taking advantage of the fact that rules on the books are not being called makes it a very ugly game to watch. So that with that, I agree with Colin. I agree with you on that. It's an ugly game to watch if they continue to play based on the way SGA is taking advantage of his stardom with referees calls, etc., etc. But in terms of the team play, in terms of the defensive commitment, that is a part of the stylistic element that I do appreciate from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I share your distaste in them as a team. I'm not really going to follow them. I'm not going to root for them to do well, especially against 90% of the league. But I do appreciate the fact that they are a team-oriented thing, a step away from what the Spurs have been during their title runs earlier on in the early 2000s. That team atmosphere, that team camaraderie, etc. And I think their coaching, etc., has been excellent. And so the players are just taking advantage of poor refereeing, quite frankly. Going back to what I expect to see in the finals, I expect to see a really good finals between two teams that really are quite evenly matched. I think across the board, they have bigs that match up well against each other. They have guards that match up really well against each other. And I'm glad it's going to be a 7-game series. I said it during our previous pod that I think that, well, I don't know if you want me to put in my prediction now, but uh, I'm really looking forward to game one. My first prediction is that I think Knicks take game one in a close game, but maybe even a one overtime game or something like that. But then Spurs take game two. If Spurs win one in their home and take game two, and from there on out, it'll be interesting. Happy to hear your thoughts.
While I do agree with Moots on the part that okay, just going back to the SGA, it is a loophole in the game, and he is exploiting it. There is a way to go about it. Branson foul baits as well, but he does it in a way that's palatable. Like I can still watch the game. SGA does it on every single possession. Every single possession he has the ball. So that's the part where, yes, it's a loophole. Yes, the refs need to do more. But at the same time, have some class. You're an MVP. Well, now you're a two-time MVP. Have some class. Play good basketball. Play authentic basketball. Like, anyway, I can't get behind it. Then there's Lou Dort. Lou Dort needs to retire and join WWE. This dude is just clotheslining people and aiming for ankles. Like, no. Anyway, if I go on OKC, I'll go on a whole tangent. So I'll just I'll just keep it there. Predictions for game 1 and 2. I have the Spurs up 2-0. And then I think New York goes up 3. But for the first 2 games, I have the Spurs up 2-0.
In terms of that was hilarious what you said, by the way. In terms of okay, yeah, I'm gonna say my predictions. I think the Spurs. So tonight, mm, they're playing in San Antonio. I think Spurs get one, and then Knicks take the other. Or I think, or rather, okay, let me put it like this. My predictions are they'll go into New York 1-1. Because I
I
think
want
the
to
West,
hear you have a game in mind that New York gets their game. I want you to commit to a game.
as in,
I've committed to my game 1. The Knicks get the game
all
1.
right, oh man, because the Knicks, see, the thing is, like, I think the rest of the Knicks is important, but also the Spurs did have, a little bit of time off as well. Um, I want to say I feel that the Knicks will be more prepared. So maybe the Knicks will get game 1, and then San Antonio will, adjust and be like, okay, now we're here. This is what we're gonna do. In terms of preparing against the Knicks, going to game 2. Whereas with game 1, I think, okay, yes, they're gonna have the mindset and everything, but I feel that also the Knicks would have done their proper homework and will take game 1. Let me go with that.
I think the Knicks, homework or not, just have nothing for Wemby. And I feel like it will take 2 games for them to figure it out. So that's why I go 2-0. But I think once they do, then New York goes up 3-2. But yeah, that is super wishful thinking. But let's see.
So you're thinking that New York is going to get 3 in a row?
I think they will take 2 games to kind of understand the science. And once they do, they will adjust, and the Spurs will be lost for another 2 games to make it 2-2. And just off of that momentum, I think they will win a third one. And then by that time, I think the Spurs will have figured it out and take the remaining 2 games. So I have the Spurs winning, but through a
You have
very weird route.
the Spurs winning in 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
But I have
Do you
them
think they're
winning the
do you
first 2 games.
do you think the first 2 games are close, or do you think
I think every
they're
game is close except game 6.
except for game 6?
Yes, I
Okay.
think the Spurs beat the brakes off of New York in game 6. And then it comes to game 7, they're just done for. It will be close, but Spurs will kind of edge them out, I think. But for these first 2, um I'm, of course, I most definitely could be wrong, but I just feel that New York will not have an answer for Wemby for
We got
2
some strong
games at
predictions
the
coming in.
very
We got
least.
some strong predictions coming in. So, what is your
And
take there for the series there, Moots?
well, okay, just a quick heads up. I just did a quick check on the injury report, and Mitchell Robinson, apparently he went through successful, like, what was it, the pinky finger injury,
Yeah, he had
but he is
a
questionable
broken
for
hand.
today's game.
He's questionable. He's not going to
Yeah,
play.
and he's listed for,
Okay.
well,
I think he's going to
yeah.
play.
So that leaves them with
He said he
just
would play
Cat
with a
as
brace.
the big man.
So he will play, but
Yes.
with a brace. Okay.
I think this is my prediction, is that he does play with a brace. He said so a few days ago when he first had the surgery, that he would play with a brace. That was what his goal was. So I think they keep it for game 1 that he plays with the brace. But game 2 he may miss game 2. It's not the strategy I would employ. But but I think
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, why would he play not play game? Why would he play game one and then not play game two?
You know,
That
yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
No, but I'm just going out on a limb here. This is just a wild prediction that Knicks play him game one, but perhaps he realizes that
Okay, okay.
his hand
I thought
gets
that was an
aggravated in game two.
official.
No. It's a wild prediction. It's a wild
Okay.
what if prediction. Logically, the Knicks hold him out game one and play him game two if he feels a little bit better with the extra rest, etc., treatment, etc. First of this hand is not going to heal in this 7 games in this 2 weeks. It's normally a 1-2 month type deal, but it's a manageable injury in that he can play with a brace, a soft brace, and it be manageable depending on what his tolerances are. I'm not going to say I know his tolerances or anything like that, but he said that he was wanting to play. So my predictions are, I said already that I think New York gets game one in a close game. My thing is that the Spurs beat the brakes off of New York in game two if Mitchell is playing both games. Let me caveat that and say if Mitchell is playing both games. If Mitchell is not playing game one, then Spurs get game one in a close game. I still think it's going to be close. But New York wins game two in a close game, funny enough. Okay. So if Mitchell plays game two but not game one, both games are close. But Knicks take game two if he plays game two and not game one. If he plays game one, Knicks win game one in a close game, but they lose game two in 12 or more by 12 or more points. Let me be very specific on that. I have the Spurs winning this in 6, and I do not see any team winning 3 straight games. So I say they go back to New York 1-1. I think that they could lose both games in the Spurs could lose both games in New York, but I don't think that's likely. I think the Spurs will win one of the two, but one of them I think will be a blowout, like 20 plus points, or close enough to 20 points that it just came under 20 in the last few minutes because they were playing garbage time type deal. So I think it will be 2-2 all knotted up coming back into San Antonio for game 5. And
So you have 2-2, then
game
4-2.
2-2 and then 4-2. Yeah, exactly. That's my prediction. I don't think it's going game 7 because I think if it's a 7-game series, again, I start thinking conspiracy wise, this is just the NBA trying to milk money out of everyone. So because as well matched up as I think they are, and I think they're very well matched up, the injury stuff is likely to play a role. So let's see what happens. But
I'm inclined to agree with you. Your reasoning is sounding reasonable. So, but let's see how the game shake out. Moots, let's get your take so we can let you go.
Yeah, so okay, so final predictions. I think I might have said or like that 6 games, Spurs winning it in 6, possibly 5, but I don't know. There's just something about how these playoffs are going. I I think I want to go with the Spurs in 7. um, you know, let's see, and I cannot discount the Knicks for some reason now. I didn't think they'd get to this point, but they did, and that says something, and then okay, so those are my predictions, but also, and just to wrap this up, yeah, because I gotta go. Just one thing to just highlight how I think we did kind of get a finals that we wanted, that is epic. And just to see a couple of things, right? The last time the Spurs reached the NBA Finals, with the young superstar leading the way was Tim Duncan in '99, and he was 22. Victor Wembanyama, now he's 22, right? And is this like this beginning of the next Spurs franchise? And then another thing is that, I want to kind of look at this kind of like stratosphere angle, whereas if you think about it, most all-time greats, they don't actually lead teams to the finals at that age, right? But now we're entering a territory where we have names like Tim Duncan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant. And now this is specifically on Victor Wembanyama, but let's also not discount, you know, what's even bigger in terms of what looks like a dynasty. Because if you think about it, the last time the Knicks reached the finals was in '99. And then now, Brunson is leading the Knicks to these NBA finals and is already in consideration for one of the greatest Knicks ever. I forgot the last time the Knicks actually won the championship. I think was it what, like in the 50s or
1973.
something? Oh my goodness.
1973.
Now look at that, you know. So just to highlight the gravity of this NBA finals.
So you took a little bit of a different turn than where I thought you were going, but I'm going to go further into what you were saying and say this. I think we are we're at the beginning of a new generation of really good basketball and basketball players. I'm glad you highlighted the Tim Duncan, Shaq, Kobe era, etc., as being an era of its own. This was the post-Michael era. The LeBron, etc., Harden, Westbrook, that era. Now we're entering into the new one, where we have Shea Gildress, we have the Wemby, we have uh, who else is there now? We have my names and stuff are going crazy right now. Just too many of them. Guy from Minnesota, guy from Philadelphia. Uh, we have a
Ant-Man.
number of players. Yeah, Ant-Man. We have a number of players all over the league that are young and in their primes and doing really, really well and starting the new generation of really wonderful basketball opportunities for the NBA. So as we say goodbye slowly to people like LeBron, Curry, Durant, all these people who are still playing and playing at a high level, we're welcoming in that new breed of star and superstar. And it's going to be really fascinating to see how this develops going forward as we start also looking at where people's legacies lie and who is going to be the face of the league and whether or not they get to crack the top 10 of best players ever. And I wanted to say this last time we recorded, I'm going to say it now. Wemby has an opportunity to, more so than anyone that we've spoken about previously, including SGA, including Ant-Man, to go down as the best player ever and bypass and surpass the stuff of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and all the rest of them. And I'm perhaps the last person who you would think that's going to come up and make such a claim, a bold prediction, etc. But I strongly believe that we're entering into a new era where people's not only looking at records being able to fall, but also dominance by single individual players. And if everything remains the same, players remain healthy, and there's year on year improvement, one year to the next, uh, someone like Wembanyama might really go down as in 20 years we're having the debate, is he the top player ever? Is he a top three? Is he a top five? And I think he has the best possibility if he can remain healthy and have a strong streak lasting 7 to 10, 7 to 12 years, or even better with new medical advances, to be him. And certainly he's going to be some generation's best player ever. So be on the lookout.
Absolutely. Yo, Colin, just before you go, I was just looking over my notes real quick, and I have to say this. In the beginning of Game 7, Wemby did play point guard to start the game for a couple plays, and I was just comparing that with Magic Johnson. And I mean, Wemby playing point guard, like you said, new era, new style of playing. Uh, this is incredible, incredible. Colin.
Yeah, I just think it's going to take a minimum of 2 games to figure what they have to do for him. Again, all my takes depend on the supporting cast, not the superstars. I know the superstars are going to do their part, but it will really depend. Let's see how game 1 goes. I really want to see how the support guys fare. I mean, for both of them, most of them, this is their first finals. I think the whole team, for both sides, I think this is their first finals.
So Harrison Barnes has got experience. So
Okay, Barnes, you have Barnes,
people on
but
people on
he's
the
not
bench
really
people
playing
on the
that
bench
much.
have
Yeah.
experience, but certainly the starting five outside of De'Aaron Fox went to Western Conference Finals, but he didn't go to the finals. So this is the starting five's first trip to the big dance, and so starting five for the West, starting five for the East as well. I think going through it quickly. OG, yeah, their
Yeah,
starting five as well. This is
I'll see
this is
how
the
the
starting 10 first trip to the NBA Finals. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the confirmation of change of guard. First time for both of these teams in 5 plus years, 10 plus years. In fact, I think, is it 23 years, 21 years since either of these teams has, no. Sorry, Spurs have won in 20. Okay, so yeah,
Spurs
it's
won
a long time.
some. Yeah,
Spurs won a
it's
few
still
of
a
them.
while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
yeah, let's see how this game shakes out. Maybe if we do another one of these, I might adjust my takes based on how teams are playing. But for now, that's my take. And
okay.
then yeah, that's it on my side.
Well, we're back between those lines again. Let's take a good time to reflect. Good to catch up again, Colin. Appreciate you coming and joining us in.
Always
Let's
my
enjoy
pleasure,
this.
guys.
Let's enjoy this finals moods. Appreciate you, buddy. Let's get this show started. I look
Yo,
forward to
appreciate
the next time we get between the lines.
At least
absolutely.
we're all rooting for the Spurs, or at least we're all thinking the Spurs will win.
That's exactly how we ended up our last show too. It's the first time we're all in agreement over something. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we will be annoyed together, or we will be happy together. Let's see.
For sure, for sure. Yo, I appreciate you guys coming through. And Colin, welcome back. We missed you. And yeah, glad to hear you on this. And hopefully, we'll do many more of these in the coming weeks, even in the off season.
Lovely, guys. Always my pleasure. Catch you on the next one.
All right, peace. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's go.